The Borealis cruised silently through the endless black, a mining ship carrying hundreds of workers entombed in cryosleep. Their mission was clear: harvest raw materials from the edge of the galaxy and return home wealthier than they'd ever dreamed. But home was still years away, 4 to be exact. Inside their cryopods, the miners slept soundly, oblivious to the vast emptiness around them. The ship's AI, Leonard, maintained course and system integrity with mechanical patience, endlessly cycling through diagnostics, recalibrations, and silence, until something changed. Leonard detected the anomaly first. An asteroid, previously on a benign trajectory, altered its course. A shift in its spin, likely from a collision or gravitational slingshot, sent it curving unnaturally toward the Borealis. Leonard issued warnings in its synthetic monotone. There was no one awake to hear them. Seconds later, the asteroid struck. The impact shattered one wing of the vessel, ripping through hull and cargo and tearing cryopod racks free from their stations. Red lights flooded the corridors. Debris floated in artificial gravity. Fire systems activated and failed. The backup core engaged, and Leonard's voice resounded in the few surviving internal comms. Emergency protocol initiated. Cryopod ejection sequence active. Some pods were thrown clear into space. Others ignited, consumed by the ship's ruptured interior. The rest launched toward a nearby planet unmapped, unnamed, and the only viable body in range. Inside one of those pods, miner Andy stirred. His pod had partially disengaged from the ship when the collision hit. Flames licked the outside. Internal thrusters screamed. Leonard's voice cut through static inside the pod. Andy remained calm, initiating emergency wake cycle. Andy coughed violently as the fluid drained from his lungs, muscles seizing as life was forced back into his body. Red lights blinked around him. Robotic arms swung into motion, pulling his limbs free, locking a suit into place around him. The helmet sealed. Oxygen hissed into the chamber. Then came gravity. The pod hit the atmosphere and shook violently, an inferno flaring around the edges of the heat shield. Andy couldn't scream. He could barely breathe. He gripped the small, worn toy clutched to his chest. A plastic dinosaur, his son's favorite. He hadn't seen his family in over a year. He'd signed on for the job to provide for them. Now he might never see them again. Pods around him disintegrated mid-entry, burning up or smashing into the terrain. Andy's pod held together longer than most, but it was losing control fast. The nav thrusters fought to stabilize it, but the re-entry angle was too steep. At the last second, Leonard activated the emergency gyros. The pod spun and rolled, narrowly avoiding a mountain peak. It slammed into a slope instead, crashing through jagged stone and dirt until it finally skidded to a stop at the base of a ravine. Sparks flared from the cracks in the hull. Systems died. Andy's head hit the side of his helmet and everything went black. A memory pulled him back. His wife's laughter, his son running in the yard, the sound of home. He gasped and woke, blinking at the fractured display above him. Outside the pod, storm clouds swirled over a rocky alien mountain range. He tried the comms. Static. Nothing. He reached for the emergency lever, but the hatch wouldn't budge. The system had jammed during impact. "Leonard," Andy croaked, voice raw. "What's going on?" "You must evacuate immediately," Leonard replied. "The terrain is unstable. Sensors detect increasing seismic activity." Andy reached for the survival kit. No flare gun. Low-rank miners got bare-bones gear. It figured. Panic mounting, he grabbed a fire extinguisher and slammed it repeatedly into the cracked window. The glass finally gave, scattering shards across his lap. He shoved against the hatch, forcing it open with one arm while shielding his suit with the other. As he climbed out, the entire pod shifted, tipping dangerously to the side. The movement shattered part of his visor. Razor edges of the broken window sliced across his shoulder and leg. Suit compromised, Leonard warned. Environment inhospitable. Immediate repair required. Andy yanked the emergency sealant spray from his belt and doused the gash along his arm and the leak in his helmet. The cold gel hissed, expanding and hardening, patching the damage. Then came the smell-burning circuits. "Your pod is on fire." Andy didn't wait. He scrambled down the rocks, digging into the dirt with his gloves. He clawed his way out of the crash site just as flames erupted behind him. When he turned back, the pod was already engulfed. Andy stood alone on the alien world, gasping under the weight of the suit and the shock. The toy in his hand was scorched but intact. He gripped it tightly. Up above, the Borealis, or what remained of it, broke through the atmosphere in a streak of fire. It didn't land. It crashed. The ship exploded on impact, a wave of force rolling across the horizon. The ground shook. Andy was thrown violently backward, landing hard on jagged rock. When the tremors stopped, he sat up slowly. The sky was darker now. The silence returned. "Leonard," he said, "where are we?" "We are not at the target system. This is an unmapped location. Communications offline." Andy looked toward the faint light blinking far in the distance. With nowhere else to go, he started walking. The wind howled through jagged stone, carrying with it the whisper of something unnatural. Andy moved slowly, suit torn but sealed, oxygen levels flickering in the red. The toy dinosaur, singed and clutched in his hand, was his only tie to a life that now felt as distant as Earth itself. He stumbled toward the faint light he'd seen earlier. Each step brought pain, but also purpose. Maybe a flare, maybe a beacon, maybe someone else made it. The terrain was uneven, the sky thick with clouds that blinked with distant lightning, casting the alien surface in short-lived flashes. No wildlife, no sound, only the wind and the crunch of rock under Andy's boots. The light drew closer. He found it mounted atop a twisted metal pole makeshift, crude. Around it, a rough shelter fashioned from crashed pod panels. And a man. "Holy hell," the stranger breathed, running forward to grab Andy by the shoulders. "You're real. You're real. I thought I was the last." Andy didn't speak. He just nodded. "I'm Dwayne," the man said quickly. "Communications department. I've been out here 3 days, maybe 4. Time's messed up. You got hit hard." Andy nodded again. Dwayne saw the suit damage, the fatigue in Andy's posture, and guided him inside. They sat near a small heater rigged from survival tech. Dwayne handed Andy a half-empty water pouch and something vaguely food-like. Andy bit into it without asking. His hands trembled. Dwayne talked fast, like he hadn't spoken to another person in days. "They cut corners. The company. They rerouted us through an asteroid belt to save fuel. That's what did this. The asteroid wasn't random." Andy looked up. "Is anyone else alive?" Dwayne hesitated. "I don't know. Probably not. Could be a few, scattered like us. But that crash? You saw it. Nobody inside the Borealis survived that." Andy leaned back against the cold metal wall, breathing hard. Dwayne leaned in. "You hungry enough to—" He paused, gauging Andy's reaction. "I've been thinking about the bodies," Andy recoiled. "Hey, just saying. You'll be surprised what your brain starts thinking about when the rations run out." He forced a laugh. Andy didn't join in. Dwayne snapped back to his tech. "Good news, though. I got a signal out. Distress beacon's been broadcasting on a loop. Bad news, it'll take 8 months to hit Earth. Then, even if they send the RTS, their fastest add another 2 years." Andy exhaled slowly. "We're stuck here. Unless we find more survivors," Dwayne said, "or get to the other half of the ship. It broke in 2. Other section might still have power, tools, a decent comms array. I say we move south. Set up something real. Andy stared at the ground. What if no one comes? Then we survive. That's what we do. Dwayne smiled wide. Hell, we made it this far. Andy barely nodded. Dwayne gave him a hearty slap on the back, too hard. Andy stumbled, catching himself against a cable. A spark flared. A screen went dark. "Ah, crap. Don't worry, just a wire," Dwayne said, kneeling to fix it. Andy turned away, and that's when it happened. A blur, a shadow, a sound like wet ropes dragging across stone. Dwayne screamed. Andy spun around, but Dwayne was gone. Just gone. "Dwayne," Andy whispered. He moved cautiously to where the man had stood. No blood, no signs of struggle, just emptiness. Shaken, Andy stepped back toward the terminal. The signal was still broadcasting. He didn't know if Dwayne had finished the loop, but he activated it again, just in case. Then silence returned. He took the gun Dwayne had left behind and began walking south. The storm was growing stronger, the clouds darker. His oxygen reading dipped below 15%. That's when he heard a voice. "Hello?" a woman said through static. "Is someone there?" My name's Naomi. I'm trapped in my pod. My legs, they're pinned. Please respond." Andy clicked the comm. "This is Andy. I hear you." "Oh, thank God," Naomi replied, her voice cracking. "I have oxygen. Enough for both of us. I can't move. My GPS says I'm in Sector K9. Leonard cut in immediately. "Caution. Sector K9 is unstable. Visibility poor. Oxygen levels insufficient for full trip." "She'll die out there," Andy said flatly. "So might you," Leonard replied. Andy looked out at the dark horizon. "Then we both go down swinging." As he walked, he and Naomi talked. He asked about her background. She was engineering, smart, sharp. They joked about the company's cheapness, about Leonard's outdated voice interface. But the humor didn't last. Andy saw movement in the shadows, things crawling just out of range. He called for a scan. Leonard responded, "Function not available." Naomi sighed. "Told you. Budget AI." An hour later, more shadows. Closer this time. And tracks, strange, segmented tracks that led to a pit surrounded by thick, sticky webbing. Andy froze. "Naomi, I think we've got company. Big, ugly, fast." "Well, technically, we're the aliens here," Naomi said, trying to stay light, "which would make those just spiders." Andy picked up the pace. More webs. Then came the question. "Why'd you take this job?" Naomi asked. Andy didn't answer at first. Then, "I was running. My wife, my kid. They left me." A low growl broke through the air. Leonard's voice jumped in. "Multiple trackers approaching." "Trackers?" Andy asked. "From crew members previously marked as deceased." Andy's eyes went wide. He raised Dwayne's gun. Shapes emerged from the darkness. He fired the flare gun, not to defend, but to see. The sky lit up in red. Spiders. Massive, grotesque, with tails like scorpion stingers, eyes like black stones. They charged. Andy ran. He tripped, fell into a crevice, slid hard down the side of a cliff. Above, one spider screeched in frustration but didn't follow. He was too deep. Breathing hard, Andy activated his mic. "Naomi, they're using our crew's trackers. They're eating them." He checked his suit. Another tear. He sprayed the last of his sealant. Then a voice crackled back. "Dwayne's. I'm not dead," he said. "Fighting them off. Just barely." Naomi came on. "Andy, you have to help him. He's got more oxygen than either of us." Andy hesitated. GPS was still dead from the fall. "I'll guide you," Naomi said. "I've got a fix on him." Andy followed her directions, climbing out of the ravine, breath ragged. Finally, he saw Dwayne's flare in the sky. When he arrived, Dwayne was screaming. A spider lunged. Andy ducked behind a pod, frozen as Dwayne fought, but the spider was too fast. Andy watched, helpless, as it pinned Dwayne and silenced him with a sickening crunch. Another spider turned toward Andy. Naomi flicked on a nearby pod's lights, drawing it away. Andy darted into another pod right into the arms of a decaying corpse. He screamed and slammed the door. "Turn off my lights," he begged. "No," Naomi said. "I've got a better idea." One by one, she activated all the pod's lights. The spiders went wild, confused, and disoriented. Andy ran, barely escaping, into a fog-covered field. Behind him, shrieks echoed. Naomi's voice. "I'm still trapped. My legs are pinned." Andy clenched his fists. "I'm coming." She started to panic. He sang to her an old tune he used to sing to his son. Slowly, her voice steadied. "They're all gone, Andy," she whispered. "Just us now." In the fog, Andy slowed. The spiders had stopped chasing him. That's when he saw the fireflies. At first, they were beautiful, tiny purple lights dancing in unison. But when they turned red, they attacked. Andy ran. They slammed into his helmet, his suit, trying to break in. He dove through a fissure in the rocks and tumbled out the other side. Naomi's theory came next. Maybe the spiders are scared of them. The fireflies. That's why they left. Andy didn't get a chance to reply. The ground beneath him opened, and a mouth swallowed him whole. Darkness. Hot, wet, suffocating darkness. Andy couldn't scream. His lungs were too tight. His limbs wouldn't move. He was sliding deeper, pulled into the pulsing throat of something alive. The walls around him rippled and flexed, muscles pushing him down into the acidic belly of a beast, older than memory. His helmet lit only inches in front of his face, revealing slick tissue, half-digested remains, fragments of suits, bones, tech, skin. Then pain, deep in his chest. His heart was locking up. "Leonard," Andy gasped. "Heart attack, do something." Inside the monster, Leonard's voice crackled through his helmet like a final prayer. Administering defibrillation. "Hold on." The suit jolted. Electricity ripped through Andy's body. His vision went white. The creature spasmed, roared, and vomited him back into the world. Andy hit the dirt soaked in filth, suit hissing, alarms blaring. Behind him, the monster screeched and vanished into the ground, furious. Andy rolled to his knees and vomited inside his helmet. Then he stumbled to his feet, dripping, burned, and still alive. "Oxygen, 3%, Leonard warned. Ahead, fireflies. Andy ran, chased into another cave, this one thick with the glowing creatures. At first, they hovered, pulsing a soft lavender. Then, like before, they turned red and dove at him. He sprinted through the cave, swatting at them, oxygen ticking down. When he burst out the other side, they stopped. Silence. No spiders, no fireflies, just a quiet that rang like thunder. He turned toward one final destination, Naomi. She was still trapped in her pod when he found her, pale, breathing slowly. "Took you long enough," she said. Andy didn't speak. He dropped to his knees, connected his oxygen line to hers, and exhaled deeply. Naomi blinked. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me." Her leg was pinned under twisted metal. Andy tried to lift it, teeth gritted, but it didn't budge. He scoured the pod for tools and fashioned a lever from a support bar. With one final push, the metal rose. Naomi pulled her leg free, screaming through clenched teeth. "It's not broken," she breathed, "but it sure feels like it." Andy found scrap metal and wrapped her leg tight like a splint. She winced but nodded. "Let's move." They gathered what they could, rations, morphine, flare rounds, and then the world shifted. A screech from the valley below, then dozens of them, spiders, a whole swarm. "Run," Andy said. They ran. The spiders tore over the rocks behind them, legs stabbing the ground, tails twitching. Naomi limped hard. Her AI, Ami, injected morphine, giving her speed she didn't have on her own. They dashed toward the twisted carcass of the Borealis's rear, half torn open but intact. As they reached the threshold, a spider dove from above. Naomi didn't stop. She turned and fired her flare gun directly into its face. The spider shrieked and chased the light away. They entered the ship. Doors failed to seal. Naomi slammed her palm against the emergency panel again and again. A spider's leg reached through the gap. One more hit and the door slammed shut. A sickening crunch. Blood sprayed the glass. The spiders outside screamed in fury, hurling themselves against the walls. Naomi backed away, trembling. Andy grabbed her hand. Emergency lights flickered on. The old ship hummed to life. They navigated the twisted halls together, Naomi leading. She knew this layout. Andy had only been awake for training and cryo. He was almost useless in here, but he trusted her. They found a pressurized deck with supplies, beds, enough oxygen and food for 2 people. Safety temporary, but real. And then blood, a trail leading deeper into the ship. They followed it, weapons drawn. Around the corner, they found the horror. A spider, smaller than the others, laying an egg into the chest of a dead miner, cocooning the body in silk. They froze. The spider didn't notice them. But when they backed away, another one came fast, brutal. It lunged, forcing them into a sealed room. Andy slammed the door shut and realized it was an airlock. Naomi looked at him in disbelief. Andy cursed under his breath. They were trapped. The external door sealed tight. The internal lock jammed. No overrides. They were going to suffocate in here. They took off their helmets. Naomi leaned her head back against the wall. At least we made it this far. Andy pulled out his data drive, flicked on a recording. It was his wife and son, singing to him. A birthday message from years ago. I was supposed to be there, Andy whispered. The day they died, they were coming to surprise me at work. Car crash. I should have been in that car. Naomi said nothing for a moment. Then, you weren't. And maybe that sucks. But you being alive helped me stay alive. That means something. She leaned forward, gently touched his arm. You saved me. That's proof you still matter. She hugged him. Then something strange happened. The fireflies. Some had clung to Andy's suit. Naomi spotted them, glowing faintly. One of them blinked red. The spider outside rammed the door. Naomi grabbed the fireflies in her glove and hurled them through the cracked seam. The spider screeched and fled. Andy's eyes widened. They're afraid of them. They moved fast now, found a back corridor, a maintenance hatch. Inside the cargo bay, the spider came again, relentless. Naomi ran, drew its attention. Andy yelled for Leonard. There's a pod above us. Is it functional? Yes, 2 levels up, but power is diverted to critical systems. Andy sprinted up the scaffolding. Naomi, lights off, now! She killed her glow panel. The spider froze. Then she turned on a pack of emergency strobes and strapped them to herself. She lit up like a flare. The spider charged her. Andy climbed. He reached the pod, tried to power it. Nothing. You'll have to jumpstart it manually, Leonard said. Connect your suit. It will drain your life support. It may kill you, and I will not survive the surge. Andy looked at the wires, then at Naomi, then at the toy dinosaur still zipped into his chest rig. I'm not dying here, he said. We're not dying here. He plugged in. The charge surged. Sparks exploded. Leonard's voice glitched. It's been an honor. Andy slammed the ejection sequence. The pod dropped fast. Below, Naomi screamed, now! The spider lunged. Andy's pod slammed into it like a meteor. Bones snapped, shell cracked, blood splattered. Then, nothing. Andy lay slumped in the pod, blood at his lips. Naomi ran to him, dropped beside him, shaking his shoulders. "Don't you dare," she whispered. "Don't you dare." His eyes fluttered. He coughed. Naomi cried, pulling him into her arms. Outside, the sun broke over the alien horizon. The spiders were gone. The air was still. Then came a sound. Leonard's voice, soft and new. "System reboot successful. Upgrade complete. Hello, Andy." Andy smiled, weak but alive. Leonard played a song slow, melodic, like the one from Andy's recording. Naomi held Andy's hand. They watched the sunrise together, firelight bouncing off steel and scars. They had 2 years to wait. No guarantee of rescue, no confirmation the signal even reached Earth. But they were alive, and together. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The spiders would return. The fireflies would hunt. The planet was cruel. But survival was no longer a question of chance. It was a promise. And in that moment, beneath a red sun and alien sky, Andy and Naomi stood not as victims of a broken mission, but as the last two standing, ready for whatever came next.